So we'll move on to Chris Collins, FMI Games. Chris is the CEO and co-founder of FMI Games, a company building a platform for games that use genetics. Also, given Philip Rosendale's recent keynote, might want to mention that he's a veteran of Second Life.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Chris Collins from Flying Monkey Interactive, and as you were correctly saying, I've prior to FMI Games actually worked with Philip, who gave the keynote at Second Life for several years. So been sort of working in the field of virtual worlds and gaming for some time now. To give you just a quick idea of just who FMI Games are, we are. What we're doing is we're building out games. So we're not so much on doing branding related work. We're purely a small indie game company. There's only 5 of us, and building games that in this case are using genetics for the back end. So the first game that we've actually published is called Strangelings, which is a animal breeding based game that as you're going through the breeding process, there's genetics that's happening in the back end that gives you the output of the animal. What that means for us, and it's kind of a personal something that I always found very intriguing in Second Life, is this content creation. In using genetics in the breeding process, it means that the users, through playing the game, are actually generating the content. So when I was thinking about what to actually sort of focus this talk on at a conference like this, I really wanted to sort of take it from the point of view of we are a for-profit company. We're a startup, so hopefully in the future we'll be an incredibly for-profit company. But in this world that we're living in, where the number of different outputs and the outputs that your consumer are running around with, how do you deal with the choices that are out there, and how do you build to those choices that are out there? And when you're building something out, how can we build that it will work? It's going to be working on the iPad, and if you just look in the last year, Oculus Rift's coming out, and Glass is coming out, and Ouya's coming out. How can you build out software that if some new hardware device is coming out that all of a sudden is the hottest thing, and you feel that you need to port your game over to that at that device? How do you do it in a way that you're not spending a whole lot of money? So, as I mentioned, the choices that are out there are quite overwhelming. And when I say overwhelming, there's 2 angles to this. There's one as a consumer of this technology. So me as a consumer, I love all the different smart devices that I can get my hands on. At home, I've got an Oculus Rift. I've got the Ouya. Anything I can get my hands on, I buy it, and I think it's just really, really cool to play with as a consumer. Sitting in the keynotes with the talks there, Brady gave a classic example where the costs to be able to produce hardware is just coming massively down. So the selection for the consumer is unbelievable. The overwhelming on the other side is as a business owner that's producing games that need to go out to consumers. And in our case, we're producing freemium games where the user can download it for free, and then we're looking to earn money off them as they engage in the game. How do I have a game that can deploy out to these new devices? How do I move so that the company's not getting stale? We've seen that classic PowerPoint, and I think Will showed it as well. The rapid adoption of new technologies. You've seen it. The radio, how long that took, to the TV, to the computer, to the smartphone devices, and now it just seems to be getting quicker and quicker and quicker, which is really daunting for us as a company. So what we wanted to do when we were looking to build out our business is that we wanted to be able to build out a game system where we can centralize the content creation, how that content is getting created, and then be able to really spit that content out in a very standardized format. And when I show the demo, you'll be able to actually see the animal. But what we do is we're essentially just spitting out a piece of JSON that's a very standard piece of text that builds the animal. And what that does for us is it really helps us to be able to move around to different devices at a much sort of quicker pace. The other thing that we do is that when we set the business up, again, there's only 5 of us as core founders, we sort of said, well, what are our core capabilities and what's the core IP for our company? And then we focused in on that, and we just looked to outsource everything else. So not only just outsourcing various pieces of talent, but also outsourcing the technology that we were using. You know, whether it's AWS, various backends as a service, just everything that we didn't have to handle, we made sure someone else could do it. So we could just spend our time on building out the actual game. The other thing is a lot of these new technologies that come out. It really is very hard to target the consumer that could be adopting this new technology. So we wanted to build out a system that allows for the community to be able to spread the word about a certain game that's out there, so that again we're not spending millions of dollars on advertising for a small platform that could grow to become huge. Or it could, disappear within a couple of years. And then we're constantly tracking data and refining. It's really important. We spend a whole lot of money doing some augmented reality with the game to be able to realize, okay, this is working. Maybe we need to refine it, or to know that it's not working and we can quickly get rid of it and move on to something else for our consumers. So this is the only sort of technical slide that I would show, but this is actually just looking at the back end that we built. So one of the hot things that's out there right now for anyone here that's building kind of applications to go out to mobile is this back end as a service. There's a number of companies out there, Pass, that just got bought by Facebook. We use a company called StackMob, and what that does is it just says, look, you're wanting to build mobile-related apps. They give you the whole back end for that. So your ability to register users, to scale out if you start getting a whole bunch of traffic in, they just take care of everything, which is, I would say for us in the last 5 months, it's probably saved us a couple of $100,000 that they can just do all that for us. And again, it's not our core IP. What we do within there is we build out our own specific game layer. And what's important is that we just send out all the game information to any device just based on standard tech format. So we use JSON in our case. And then that allows us to essentially have the output for the game we see as really being dumb devices. And we can output the game out to tablet, into augmented reality, out to the web. Really anything that's coming up is something that we want to really be able to focus on and push it out really fast. So with that, let me show you a demonstration of the game. So the first game that we published is called Strangelings. What we wanted to be able to do is we've incorporated some augmented reality in here that I'll show you. But because we're kind of the player that we're working with, wanted to be able to give them something that it's got a lot of the standard features that they're familiar with the game, and then we use the augmented reality as kind of an add-on to the game rather than the core element of the game. We find that works really well. So looking at the actual game here, what we've got is anytime I'm actually looking at an animal, all of these animals are getting generated on the fly. So it's going off to our back-end server. The server's saying, well, here are all of Chris's animals, and then the system's generating it. Now, where that's great is that all of a sudden, if something like Google Glass or telephony start getting a whole bunch of adoption, and we think, okay, we need to be able to give our users the ability to somehow bring out their animal into those devices. We're just sending out that standard information and then building on the fly. So we can send the animals out in a 2D format or in a 3D format. And what's really nice about the whole thing is that using genetics for us is that we've also got some pretty incredible content scalability, because anytime someone is going through the actual breeding process, having genetics, it means that there's billions of different combinations that the user could be coming up with. So the actual gameplay within here, the users are breeding the animals, they're interacting with the animals, they're then sharing a whole bunch of content with them. And then there's actually a live auction site where the individuals are buying and selling these animals, and that goes out on the web. So again, you know, in us already deploying, we're going out onto multiple devices. To sort of show you some of the AR and kind of the decision we made in how we put it together is, as I pointed out to you, you know, the thing for us is that we need to hit a whole bunch of consumers and be able to have those consumers convert from free players to being paid players. So we wanted to be able to, as I said, give a experience that they're familiar with, that everyone's going to be able to play, and we put in the augmented reality as an additional layer. So what we can do within here, if I have my animal that's out, probably as a lot of people are using, we use the Vuforia AR from Qualcomm, and we wanted to. The other purpose for this is that we didn't want to give a set pattern for the user because we're making this as a kind of an addition to the application. We wanted to have the pattern any way they wanted. So I'll just put it there. And then the ability for them to bring the animal out and interact with the animal as they normally would within their main environment. It was just something that, in putting it in here, was a great additional gimmick. And what we found is that a lot of the users weren't so much bringing the animal in here to have a hardcore game session with it. It was bringing the animal in here to show a friend, hey, look at this animal, isn't this really cool? Or to show, be at a dinner party and bring the animal out, which for us gave incredible user acquisition because all of a sudden, the game looks really cool and the animals look kind of cool as well. But bringing it out into AR and dropping it on your dinner table, all of a sudden people are like, I've just got to check that game out. So for us, it was a great sort of additional user acquisition point for us, which is just really incredible. As I mentioned to you, the other side to the game is that we wanted to be able to publish everything out to the web as well. So I've just jumped out to the web experience and do it in a way that, the iPad and the web is our sort of our first expansion, but to have it that the experience really follows the user. So out here, the experience looks very similar to what the user would have in the iPad. If they're jumping out to other devices, if we embed it into the Oculus Rift, which for anyone who hasn't tried that kind of stuff, it's pretty incredible. To be able to take it into Oculus Rift as more people start using it. This was a great sort of trial for us to see the technology working. The other part of it, which is kind of not so much too much about augmented reality, but more just something cool within the system that we kind of copied over from Second Life, is that we wanted users to be able to buy and sell this virtual content. So we set up a really cool little auction site. The auction is run by the user base, and they buy and sell their animals for real money. So when the auction's actually live, there's one coming up at 4:35 p.m., but I'll pretend it's up live. The users are in here, simply chatting away, very low level compared to the AR here. This is very just 2D. But then the game session we get in here, individuals are in here for 2 hours. So combining all these sort of different ways of outputting the game, all of a sudden we're getting user sessions that are pretty, very, very nice for a casual game. So can't see my... Anyway. Now, as I said to you, with the augmented reality, adding that just addition into the game, what it gave us was just incredible sharing of the game, which led to user acquisition. You can see here the first couple of graphs that we've got here. These are, I just sort of took the snapshot from this morning and removed the data in case, so we can just kind of see the cool curves that are going on there. Growing the community for us has been really important. Anytime we can add or output to another device, we can quickly push that out to the community to be able to get the data back that we need to assess whether or not it's working for us. And then allowing users to be able to share the content. So for the AR, we're getting a lot of people signing up people through just physical proximity. Look at this, isn't it really cool? As well as running some cool augmented reality competitions where we're saying, go out and take a photo next to a well-known site, which all of a sudden, again, it's just different kinds of photos that generate new users. So with that, I will, at the end of my time, and we'll open up to it if anyone's got any questions.
You guys have any questions for Chris?
Hello. I just have a question. Now that you've got this whole backbone developed for this particular game, are you currently developing other games using the same concept?
Yeah, that's our plan. So the back end gives us kind of inventory management, virtual currency, and a genetics algorithm. And so Strange Things being the first game, the plan is to be able to publish multiple games off it, and then the potential to open up to third parties to be able to use it as well.
Any more questions? Going once, going twice? So we're actually missing a speaker here, so we've got quite a bit of time left. For what it's worth, since we have some time, when I was speaking earlier, I actually have a design prototype of the telepathy 1 unit here, which I was not able to find stumbling through my bag. I thought I had left it in the hotel room. So that's actually the design of the device. Does anybody have any questions, any more questions for Ricky either, since we have the room? Okay, well, that concludes.